Hey, so I want to point some things out, all right? Because I think it needs to be discussed. You know, one thing I've noticed is that over time, people have tried to connect the most hateful ideas to divestment and BWE, when really all we do in these spaces is say that black women have the right to not be self sacrificing. We deserve advocacy and support just like anyone else, and black women have the right to expand our dating options. And we also point out the horrible ways that black women and girls are treated in this society and really all over the world. Mind you, there are people who have taken that and tried to say, well, you all say all that stuff because you hate black men. Let me explain something to you. Any black man who would suggest that is on bullshit, and any black woman who says it is also on bullshit because she's male-minded, okay? You all have to really just walk with me here, okay? Because, you know, the world is really taking a microscopic look at the overall manosphere. And I want you all to understand something. When people say that the manosphere was founded by white men who were connected to the alt-right, and white men who had views that are commonly considered to be racist or anti-Semitic, the reason people are saying that is because the founders of the manosphere were men who supported the alt-right, were men who have views that are considered to be racist and anti-Semitic. And we have the right to call that out, especially because you have other black people who look at black women in these spaces who say, well, since you encourage black women to expand their dating options, you're supporting racist men of other races. Absolutely not. Ain't nobody in this space told you to date a man that's racist. Okay? But what black men who know the history of the manosphere and still support it, what those men have done is they have openly connected themselves to a white supremacist alt-right movement, because they have such an ingrained and deep-seated hatred for black women that they can overlook and ignore the racism of the very movement that they support. I got a link in the description area for you ladies. Now, disclaimer, if you're at work on your work computer, do not click that link, okay? Because you probably gonna get in trouble. But when you get a chance, click the link, because this will take you to an article that talks about commonly used terms by the overall manosphere. And when you look at those terms, you will see that what black men in the manosphere did is they took the concepts that were created by white men and put a black spin on it. So that's why in certain spaces, some of those black dudes sound like white supremacists. Why? Because that's where they got their talking points from. Even the whole idea of making black women out to be some sort of an evil other and ripping us of our humanity, that concept comes from the term femoid, which is an overall term that's used by the larger manosphere to describe women as something other than human. Now, me saying these things does not mean that I necessarily believe that any guy who came online who listened to the talking points connected themselves to a racist alt-right movement. But what I am telling you is that the men who have existed in those spaces long term, and the men who perhaps have had some sort of connection with the founders of the manosphere, those men know that they're connected to an alt-right movement. They know it and they overlooked it. That's how much they hate us, y'all. Now, mind you, I pointed this out on my live stream channel. I think that live is called The Shattered Sisterhood. And I pointed out that divestment and BWE spaces are the granddaughters and great granddaughters of the black women's social clubs from the late 19th century, where those social clubs were created to provide support and advocacy not only for black women and black children, but for the overall black collective. And I pointed out that for so long, anytime that black women connected ourselves to any type of social movement, we tried to carry the rest of the collective on our backs, only to be shat upon, okay? Only to have those same men and women spit in our faces and totally disregard and ignore our efforts. And so divestment and BWE spaces are here to encourage black women not to be self-sacrificing, because you can't give anything to anyone else if you're an empty vessel. You can't be there for your intimate partner or your children if you have nothing to give. If your health is all fucked up because you're stressed out and worrying about everybody else. You can't live long and prosper draining yourself for a collective of people who ultimately would not do the same thing for you. And us having these messages cause other black people, black men and women, to look at us and have the audacity and try to connect us with, some sort of evil, racist views. In the meantime, you have black men who have created a whole movement using white supremacist talking points. And no one calls that out. And the same black women who throw mud at these spaces will then sit in spaces with black men and heap all kinds of praise on them. And that has happened for years. This is nothing new. This is nothing recent. So I want you, if you can, if you feel like it, if you're inclined, to access the link in the description area. Look at the glossary of terms. And when you do, you're going to be shocked, because you're going to say, oh my goodness. All of these talking points, or many of them, are the same talking points of black men who connect themselves to the manosphere. They literally adopted white supremacist talking points. That's how much they hate black women. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful Friday. Please stay away from NICTOWs and NICSELs for your health. And of course, away from male-minded women, because they'll fuck you over too. All right? Bye.